Next topic from the solid state chemistry is types of superconductors. Based on the magnetic response, the substances are classified as type 1 and type 2 superconductors. First one is type 1 superconductors. Examples are aluminium, zinc, mercury, tin, etc. So to explain these type 1 superconductors, we have one graph. M is magnetization, is taking on y-axis, and H is magnetic field, is taking on x-axis. At the critical magnetic field, we have two types of materials. Below the critical magnetic field, the materials behaves as superconductor materials. Above the critical magnetic field, the material acts as normal conductors, such that if H is less than half critical magnetic field Hc, the magnetic flux does not penetrate into superconductor substance. If H is equal to Hc, the flux penetration state is very sharp. If H is greater than Hc, superconducting material converts to normal conductor. And second one is type 2 superconductors. Examples are tantalum, vanadium, niobium, etc. These substances will have two critical magnetic fields. Hc1 and Hc2. So here also we have one graph to explain the type 2 superconductors. M is magnetization, is taking on y-axis, and H is taking on x-axis. Between the two critical magnetic fields, they have both superconductors and normal conductors, means it has mixed state. Below the first critical magnetic field, that is Hc1, those materials are superconducting material. Above the second critical magnetic field, that is Hc2, those material acts as normal conductors. If H is less than of Hc, flux does not penetrate through superconducting state. In second case, Hc1 is less than or equals to H, is less than or equals to H2, it has mixed state. And in third case, H is greater than of Hc2, flux penetrates normally, superconducting to normal state. And the next topic is theory of superconductivity, that is BCS theory, where B is Bardeen, C is Cooper, S is Schrieffer. In 1957, this theory was proposed by Bardeen, Cooper and Schrieffer. So that's why this theory is named as BCS theory. For this theory, they got Nobel Prize in 1972. So we have some features for the BCS theory. First point or first feature of the BCS theory explains microscopic origin of superconductivity. Especially this theory explains superconductivity only. The second feature of the BCS theory, electron-electron interactions leads to formation of Cooper pairs. In these superconductors, the conductivity is due to only Cooper pairs. They have opposite spin and momentum with the same velocity. These arrow marks indicates opposite spin and a negative sign indicates momentum, and these arrow marks indicates velocity. Next feature of the BCS theory, in superconducting state, the electrical current due to motion of several Cooper pairs in same direction with the same velocity at the single de Broglie wave that collectively represents Cooper pairs. The collection of Cooper pairs formation of a single de Broglie wave. Now, the next feature of the BCS theory is the momentum of Cooper pair is small. A given current corresponds to only small velocity of the wave. Consequently, the de Broglie wavelength lambda becomes very large and the scattering from the imperfection structure occur and the conduction and conductivity tends to infinity. So BCS theory correctly calculated the relation between energy gap and critical temperature. That is delta O is equal to 1.764 into kb into TCA. So this is regarding BCS theory. It is very, very important for the long question. Next one, the definition of nanoparticles. The aggregate of atoms between 1 to 100 nanometers viewed as subdivision of bulk materials. Examples for nanoparticles: butterfly wings, lizard legs, peacock feathers. These nanoparticles are prepared by sol-gel method. Sol means solid in liquid phase and gel means liquid in solid phase. In sol-gel method, we have to prepare oxide nanoparticles. For that, we are taking metal oxides. MORX reacts with alcohols. They results hydroxide. By doing hydrolysis on the hydroxide, they gives oxides nanoparticle. Oxides general formula: MO are taken X plus a solvent. By doing hydrolysis HOH, it gives hydroxides. MOH taken H, ROH and solvent. By doing hydrolysis on this hydroxide, they gives oxides nanoparticles. So it is the preparation for the nanoparticles from the oxides. From the oxides, we can prepare oxides nanoparticle. And the definition for carbon nanotubes. So these are interesting nanostructures with large application potential. CNT, short form is CNT, is a sheet of graphite rolled into tube with bonds at the end of sheet forming bonds that close tube. We are preparing these carbon nanotubes by the two methods. First method is chemical vapor deposition method, in which we are taking methane at 1100 degrees centigrade, we get carbon nanotubes. So this method involves decomposing of hydrocarbon gas at high temperature. As the gas decomposes, atoms are produced tubes with open ends, which does not occur in other methods. It is a most favorable method. And second method is laser evaporization method. In this method, the graphite rod reacts with cobalt or nickel or iron catalyst at 200 degrees centigrade. They gives carbon nanotubes, 20 to 30 nanometers collected at cold collection. So it is the preparation for the carbon nanotubes. So we have some applications for the carbon nanotubes. They are: first one, CNTs have application in battery technology, and CNTs enhances the rate of the reaction in catalysis and also have high thermal conductivity. So this is regarding nanoparticles and nanotubes. Thank you.